Hey, music fans. Welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rima.
And welcome to the Pyrocore Music Podcast. In this episode, well, we're covering Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, the album that came out in July 21st, 1987. It's almost 40 years.
It really hurts to see that year and think it feels like yesterday, but it was so long ago.
Yeah. So the album is very much a controversial album as well as a legendary album if you think about it nowadays.
Yeah.
It when it came out in an era of where glam rock and heavy metal was still the underground, and they were in the LA area when they came out. They were a mix of what was LA Guns and a couple of other bands that were around that glam area scene at the time. But when this came out, it wasn't really marketed as glam. It was more straight rock and roll. And it came out of obscurity, like literally came out of nowhere. And it just, when it came out, everybody loved it. And it had several introductions when it came out within film. So the songs were used in movies as well. So it was more of a marketing and promotional at the time. It was in a Clint Eastwood movie. It was in a horror movie. Over the years, it made its presence in commercials, TV shows, everything. And no matter where you go now, you hear these songs. That it's still a staple on radio as far as a call sheet or a list of music that they constantly put in rotation. So that band is getting a lot of royalties after all these years.
Yeah. Hope so.
Yeah, and to keep in mind for the listeners out there, what we do is we try to break down a little bit of it, who produced it, which was Mike Clank, and he produced the album. And well, Rima, you could give a little bit of a history of the band.
Yeah, so some of the history, and it goes way back, right? So
Yeah.
we know that like Axel and Izzy started out as friends in Indiana when they were kids. Izzy left for LA first. I know Axel then followed. Slash and Steven grew up together, in the LA area. They had been, in some random bands. And it was just like this luck of fate that they all kind of found each other, kind of combining, like you said, it was like a combination of this band that Axel had called Hollywood Rose and then some LA Guns folks as well. And some had left and then they had the remnants of the other bands and they got, and it's like this just magical moment. It really was just like lightning in a bottle that these five guys all got together and created this group. And that's the history as far as like what I remember it,
Hmm.
them coming together and kind of hitting that kind of punk early 80s Hollywood scene. I mean, and that's like what some of their inspiration comes from, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of punk there, and that's part of what always kind of appealed to me, as an OG fan from the day and when this band first hit my MTV. Anyway, whenever I was a kid.
Yeah, actually, MTV is what propelled it to stardom, and just because it was in your face. Sweet Child of Mine came out and became a big, huge hit for the band. And as everybody, that opening guitar riff or solo in the very beginning is something that is so recognizable. Anybody, even you could play in front of a little kid now, and they know who it is. That's what's so cool about it. And I remember back in the day when it came out, or just before it came out, my brother had a friend and he was getting me all into heavy metal and everything. Well, as you listeners know, I used to play bass in a lot of, heavy metal bands back in the day. I had the long hair and everything. I got into it because of my brother's friend Jeff Ost, and he was getting me into like Iron Maiden, Metallica, all that stuff. And there was a day when my brother and him were just hanging out, and he goes, "Oh, we're gonna go to Lemoore," and Lemore's a huge, rock place in Brooklyn. It's no longer there; it's a club, and they were supposed to play, and they found out it got sold out.
Oh,
And this is before the album actually came out. Jeff had gotten, I think, some, at the time it was tape trading and bootlegs and stuff like that. So he had live recordings of the band when they were just starting within the previous year and how they were
wow.
working together. So he was listening to that, and he was trying to convince my brother to go. They couldn't get tickets. They
Oh my
stayed
gosh.
overnight trying to get tickets, and they couldn't. And it was pretty cool to hear about that. And then when the band came out with this album and the album hit, I knew what it was. And a typical at the time, because in '87, everybody, I just started taking bass guitar lessons. What was the primary like music that they insist you learn to play? I wanted to play with my fingers on bass guitar, and my teacher was a guitar player mostly, and she insisted I use the pick, and I said fine, but I came here to primarily play more of a finger player. Now, mind you, it's not like I didn't like Duff's sound or anything, but I I he did have a unique sound to his bass guitar. So I had
Yeah.
to learn Paradise City. I had to learn Welcome to the Jungle and things of that nature.
Awesome.
It's fine. I could still play them, but to me, is it my go-to? Probably not, but I still reflect on the idea. It's like I don't, why am I playing this stuff? It's popular. I wanted to play all this stuff that it's like, can you show me this Misfit song? No, stuff like that. But yeah, the album came out and hit an audience that it doesn't necessarily get if it came out at that time. So it was a shot in the dark
Hmm.
for that they came out and they rocked everybody's world, and it became very commercial. So everybody knew who Guns N' Roses was. No matter what show that they played, they sold out, and everybody knew this album. Now, it's one of the albums that I could listen to beginning to end. And back in the day, it was like, oh, I could flip the record over too, so or cassette. But yeah, I could listen to there's not one bad song on the album.
No, one of the like amazing things about Appetite for Destruction as an album is it's it's like every song is a classic. There's in my opinion no bad song. The whole album is like a greatest hits collection
Yeah,
to me. It's like, and I've never, you would, back in the day you'd have some bands and that you would like, but you might only like a handful of their songs. And like you said, but in these days it was the cassette tape, right? That was more popular. There were no CDs yet. We kind of moved kind of beyond vinyl a little bit. So we had cassette tapes, and you used to, or at least I used to, with some bands, just skip to my favorite songs. Remember have to like stop and fast forward and stop and fast forward, till you got to like your favorite song. That was not the case with Appetite. Like it was from beginning to end, just, and wherever it was, I could just pop it in, hit play and go, and then flip it and then hit play and just let it go. And there was no bad song, in my opinion. They were all fantastic. They all had something unique to say, and some unique sounds to each of them. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The each song is very viable. The funny thing about the album, though, is, and this is where the controversy comes in, everybody. It could be listed as over sexualized and over drug riddled, because at the time when they
Sure.
were doing this, they when they did record this particular album, they were fueled by alcohol and drugs, and
Yeah.
the antics in the studio actually fell into the recording of it as well.
Hmm.
So obviously, if some of you don't know and are not familiar with the actual album at all, the song "Mr. Brownstone" a lot of people don't realize what that's about.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's about hashish or heroin at the time.
Yeah.
And yep, and it's somebody struggle with addiction. There's also another song on there. I'm forgetting and recalling the actual song, but there was a moment where you could hear a woman being pleasured in the studio, and apparently that was actually recorded in the studio.
Yes, it
So
was.
now, and now, if you think about it, and it was consensual, everybody. So it's not like they took a woman and they abused her sexually, but it was one of those things like if you were a little kid listening to this in your room and your mother said you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, yep, you definitely wanted to either have your headphones on or you wanted to turn the volume down a little bit.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's an iconic moment, honestly, there in Rocket Queen, and that story behind it.
Hmm. And it also comes up in a lot of the behind the music. If you ever recall that show on VH1, they do
Yes, I do.
go they do talk about that, and they have you can probably find them on YouTube now, everybody. All you have to do is look for behind the music and Guns N' Roses, and I'm sure you'll find it, or at least certain clips.
Yep, it's out there.
But also with the album artwork was also controversial in the sense that the record label, and they were on Geffen,
Hmm.
they couldn't release the original album artwork because, well, there's a bit of nudity. It looks like a woman who was being abused in an alleyway with some weird monster with lips and hands hovering above, going after what looks like to be a bum or a robotic bum. And it's weird. She's exposed a little bit, like a hat, like covering her head a little bit or her face. But they had to change that, and the reason why they had to change that is the record label's like, we're never going to sell this album. We would have to, back then in the 80s, they would have to put literally what would be deemed as like a garbage bag over it and you can't market an album where you can't see the album cover.
Right. Back in
So,
the day, well, and maybe still to this day, but I feel like back in the day in the 80s, album covers were everything. Like
yes.
it could make or break.
Yeah.
So it was a big deal to be able to display your album's artwork. And so, yeah, you have a point. If you have to cover that up, that would be disastrous for trying to market any album. So that meant a lot.
Like we said, this album was a little bit controversial, but it paved its way in music history in the sense of it's always there and it's always around. Kind of like listening to Beatles on the radio. You're always going to hear a Guns N' Roses song on the radio.
Absolutely.
And to talk about production and everything and how it was recorded, well, it was recorded in multiple places. Rumbo and Canoga Park Take One was the actual recording studio they started out. Burbank Record Plant and Can-Am in Los Angeles.
Mm.
And this was what happens during any recording when it comes to an album for a band back in the day in the 80s. They go to multiple. They don't really sit and stagnate in one recording studio. They move it from multiple. A lot of it is for initial recordings, sessions, mainly for the room sound, things of that nature. And and then you have your mastering at the very end. So
Mm.
they have to take it. So usually it's about two or three. In this case, it was three particular studios that they had to go to at times. But with that, it's usually room sound that makes the biggest difference.
Mm.
Uh,
It's interesting.
so I thought it was pretty cool. This is back from my days when I worked in recording studios as an assistant, audio engineer and stuff like that.
That is awesome.
But there's cool, interesting things that they used within the album that like particular equipment. And we all know that Slash predominantly plays a custom Gibson Les Paul, and it's black. Actually, my old guitar teacher had one. Steve had one, and but in this case, he had a Chris Derrick made 1959 Les Paul standard replica, and he played that through a Marshall Super Lead amp, and that was modded by Frank Levi. And the effects like that were used within the actual recording were an MXR analog chorus, a Dunlop Crybaby, which was always a standard back in the '80s for any of your solos for wah effects, and of course typical English engineering and production drown it in reverb. So there's a little bit of like heavy reverb on certain songs. You could hear it, but there's a more detailed breakdown. So Slash's guitars had a Derek made, like I said, 1959 Les Paul replica with Alnico, two humbuckers. So it's only two humbuckers. Some Gibson Les Pauls had three, but in this case, this had two. He used Gibson SG 1961 for My Michelle. A BC Rich Mockingbird. Now, BC Rich is notorious for having weirdly shaped looks, and
Mm-hmm.
Mockingbird kind of had and I believe this one was red, and we do see it later on, years later, when in this and the video of "You Could Be Mine" that was set for T2,
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 2, and he played a Warlock and of all things a Jackson, and Jackson were usually the common things that you saw in like glam bands and stuff like that back in the time, or even more heavy metal bands. Amps, like I said, a Marshall Super Lead, SIR stock, number 36 modded by Frank Levi. The clean sounds were they used a Roland JC 120 Jazz Chorus. That's a small roll around kind of amp. It's got a silverish to it, something that you hear more or less for within jazz bands, but it gives you a
Mm.
good clean tone. And with a Les Paul like that, it's going to be beefy. It's going to be low end driven. So, but it gives a little bit more of a clarity. I already said it, the effects that they used. And then, of course, they used 412 cabinets with Celestion 30s in them. And Celestions were a standard for Marshall, but Marshall was a standard for any rock band back in the '80s. Uh,
Yeah.
Not just Guns N' Roses, but also, Def Leppard and Motley Crue and things of that nature. Izzy Stradlin's guitar, well, he used a couple. One was a Gibson ES 125 and an ES 175 with standard Gibson P90 pickups. It's kind of more of like a downsized looking version of Gibson Les Paul. He used an open backed Carvin amp of all things, and that had Celestion and EV speakers in it, and it gave him more of that grit and rhythm to it. So it's a way to separate, because when you have two guitar players in one band, you have to give that sort of separation. And then he had a Mesa Boogie Mark III with a regular Carvin amp as well. Mesa is very, very direct with its tone and sound, so it kind of separates him from Slash as being with the lead. The mixer that they used mostly on his album was a Trident 80B. Now, I worked on Trident mixers before. The consoles could be split or one whole unit. I believe this one was a split, meaning that you have all your inputs and then you have one side, all your outputs. And let's just say
Oh, wow.
it gets fun trying to move things over because you got a patch bay in the back.
Oh, that sounds fun.
That's all the fun for the assistant engineer. He's gonna be like, nope, nope, I don't want to do this. The EQs that they use a Pultec EQP for top and bottom, and for all the EQs. There was a Pultec M EQ for the mid range, which is like the attack of anything, whether it be drums, the snare snap, or even the attack of the strings, let's just say, for guitars and how it sounds, because you know how you always hear the ringing out and it sounds like the guitar is now plugged in. It's that you get to hear. They used AMS delays, lexicons, which was the standard in studios back then, and EMT plates. Microphones, your standards, typical Shure SM57s, and usually used on the snare, and toms, usually. I never heard of this one. And then Man or Anonyman, Fat 47 for the kick. It's probably a big, heavy, thick microphone to go that sits inside the kick drum to get the attack and to feel the
Right.
thud. AKG 40 452s for overheads. Actually, I have a similar version. Those are condenser style microphones, picks up a lot of the high end. And then, of course, Newman U87 for Axel's vocals. And that microphone itself back then was a lot of money, $1,800 for to buy
Wow.
one brand new.
Oh, that sounds
Uh,
like still a lot of money even for today. So,
it is, but I've seen microphones go for $3,000 too. So,
yikes.
but I had an old teacher who is an engineer and producer, and he collected these U87s from specific artists and would have them sign it, like
Wow.
Aaron Neville and things of that nature. So he has theirs. So he built up his collection of microphones just to have a specific artist one. But this one is a definite, really good microphone to be used on vocals. They used a Studer 800 for a multi-track recording, and that's the actual tape deck or tape place. It was down to, and then they used an A80 for mixing down to 1 inch tape, which is interesting too, because usually mixing down goes to a 1/4 inch reel, which is only 2 track, which is your master generally. But this was in the mid to late 80s at this point, and we
Hmm.
haven't gotten into DATs, digital audio tape yet. So that's where you get that
Right.
hiss, everybody. When you hear, like, when you're playing something, even if it's on Spotify, Pandora, or anything, and you could hear a hiss, that's what it is. It's tape hits. It's the tape gliding over the magnets. So a lot over the years they try to clean that up so you don't have to hear it. And now you have, of all things, analog saturators to give you that feel. Not gonna go into there, but they used for Duff Space, they used a Yuri LA2A, and that was a microphone, and an MXR flanger and phaser on cymbals and overheads. Flangers gives you that wow wow sound. So just to give you a little bit, I like to go a little bit technical to give people an idea.
I love it.
For Duff, they used a direct box, which is a Tech 21 Sans amp, and it drives that. So instead of his cabinet being mic'd, which is a little bit more pure because it's exactly what you hear, but you're able to, hone in the bass sound if it's more direct. So you could actually cue it, and you don't have that ambient noise or room noise in there. So we like to double mic or double track the bass. Uh, some I've worked with some engineers who are like, no, you have a direct. That's it. We're gonna just do you direct, and I'm like, but my sound, it caters to this. But in this case, Clank actually did this, and he did DI as well as Mike. So during the late 80s, Duff played with both a black and white Fender JP 555. And in the video is mentioned where, like, they had an interview that I listened to. Duff had played a black Fender Japanese jazz bass as well, a special. But actually, years later, he wound up getting a signature series style bass that was a special. And this came out very similar to what I have, which is a precision bass special. But in his case, this was more, it was the neck is a little thinner in comparison to
Hmm.
a regular precision bass. So it gives you a lot of ease and feel. And to this day, Duff still plays that in other bands when he plays out. He used an MXR, an Ibanez, and an SP. He used a GK 800 bass head. So those were solid back then, and I love those. Those were workhorses. You could actually hear Flea's distinct sound in Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that's how you get that cool mid-rangey attack from Duff's sound. And yeah, you can't get away from it. It's a signature to his sound itself.
Hmm.
He used EV 400 watt speakers and an acoustic amp. So the actual amp is called acoustic. and those are old. Those are leftovers from like the 70s. Uh,
Wow.
eh, yeah. And then he used a Kramer Forum 3, which I've never really seen until I actually looked at the pictures recently. And is seen playing and using the space for the music video for "Sweet Child of Mine." So that's that one. So if you bass enthusiasts or collectors are out there, you're looking for it. That's the name of the actual bass guitar he's using in the video. Might not be the one he used playing on the song recorded, but
It does make an appearance.
it does make an appearance. And usually a lot of musicians, especially like when I was playing out, you stick to what you always use.
Right.
When you're in a studio, you're going to be playing multiple different things to get different sounds, different tones, and then that's what creates the uniqueness of the album itself.
Right.
So, to get all that technical stuff out of the way, let's get back into talking about the actual band and the touring. So, Rima, you've gotten some information about the tour.
Yeah, so the Appetite for Destruction tour, of course, led by, Guns N' Roses in 87 and 88 to help promote that album because I think that is obviously what really helped get that album out there. It was out there, but it wasn't getting, I think, the airtime it needed. I know they had to really push for it to be on MTV.
Mhm.
So they had the 16-month tour, and Guns N' Roses opened for bands including The Cult, Motley Crue, Alice Cooper, Iron Maiden, Aerosmith, and they took this tour and across 4 continents. So they certainly got around and really helped kind of get Appetite out there to the masses.
Yeah, and they would be considered a new band, so they're an opening act, and they're
Yep.
going to constantly be playing for larger audience bands. But usually, that's whenever a band has to open up, they're like, "Oh, great!" That's when everybody's either getting to their seats
Right.
or going to get a
Going to get a
beer.
beer. Yeah.
So it does expose them to that. They usually have their merch and they have their own merch table there, depending on the
Hmm.
venue, whether it be a small club or a major stadium. And at this point, you had bands like Motley Crue, who was been around and seasoned, and they were playing arenas and stadiums and things of that nature, just like Iron Maiden and Aerosmith. But groups like Alice Cooper at that time were still playing smaller club venues, I believe. And the Cult was moving up there. They had been around for a while, but they were probably more I would say more theater shows that the Cult were doing. So GNR probably had opened up for them for that stuff. And yeah, and that's what happens. That's how you get your exposure. That's how you get seen by many. I remember the Poor had opened up for AC/DC, and they were, uh, I think, the nephews of Angus Young and Malcolm Young,
Oh,
and I
okay.
got to see them, but they only had one single that was a hit, and it was only played on college radio. It's like "More Wine Waiter Please" or something. And when you listen to them and when I got to see them, it just reminded me more. It's like, okay, ACDC's opening up for ACDC. But that's why Guns N' Roses, when they were opening up for, like, let's say Iron Maiden or let's say Alice Cooper or Aerosmith, it's kind of a different type of music. So it's great when you get bands that actually have a different style band opening up for them, and
Yeah.
it exposes the people that listen to for the main group that they went to go see at the show for. They their ears are experiencing something new at least, and then hopefully it opens up those fans to that new group. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool that they were able to get that exposure like that.
I would have just absolutely just died to see them back in the day. And
Originally, it would have been great. Yeah.
it would have been so fantastic. Like I saw Aerosmith in 88 when they came to my area. Guns N' Roses was not opening for them at that time. It was White Lion, if anybody remembers the band White Lion.
I do.
And that was okay. They were okay, but I was there to see Aerosmith. But I mean, I'm like, gosh, if I had caught them, when Guns N' Roses, was touring with them during that time, I just would have absolutely lost my mind. Because- so all them lucky people that got to see him back in the day, kudos to you.
Yeah. Oddly enough, you mentioned what was it, White Lion? Yeah.
Hmm.
I used to know Vito Bratta. He was
Really?
he was another Staten Island alum. So Vito's I went to school with Vito's brother, Mike
Wow.
Bratta. So we were playing a super dance and we were supposed to play the super dance actually. And I went to an old boys Catholic high school, everybody. So this was funny. So me, my friend Kurt, and the drummer are all hanging around thinking that we're going to play, but no, they opted for one of the kids to DJ. And we were like, oh, this sucks. So Vito
Oh,
showed up thinking that we were going to play. We just hung out in the parking lot drinking beer with him. And
wow. That's cool.
eventually I was able to I got a chance to jam out with Vito a little bit. It was weird just because it's like, wow, you're a local celebrity. And he didn't think
Yeah,
of it that way at all. Currently Vito, just a little bit of uh like up to date you about Vito. He teaches guitar on Staten Island. So
that's
you can actually
awesome.
get lessons from Mr. Vito Bratta himself. But yeah, and that would be part of that. I asked him about Guns N' Roses and what he thought about it back then. And he goes, "Yeah, it's so popular now." He goes, "But we only have our hit, our like one hit. Like Wait
Hmm.
was their big
Hmm.
hit back then." So it's so funny. Um, but to talk about hits and songs that get stuck in your head, we like to call them earwigs.
Yeah,
And like I said, we've said this before when we covered Alanis Morissette. You get that song that just rings in your ear all the time. It's like it's stuck in your head all day. And until you listen to the song, you can't get it out of your head. And usually
yeah.
those songs are like Sweet Child of Mine on this particular album or Paradise City for me.
That's mine. Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
You got the chorus stuck in your head or the guitar intro from Sweet Child of Mine. Those are the earwigs, and that's usually what happens to a lot of people. Everybody gets in their head. The worst is having somebody who has the ringtone of Sweet Child of Mine guitar intro on their phone as a ringtone. I had that for a while. It really ticked people off too. It's like, oh my God, it's that song again.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah. I had put it in here, but I didn't actually read it, and usually it's lyric misreadings on or mishearings on albums. People get them wrong, and it's so funny too because I'm looking at it and I just copied and paste as I always do. I didn't. It's like it says misheard. I'm a sweet child of mine. And then actual is I'm a sweet child of mine. And I'm like, okay, it didn't really change. And all of them seem to be the same. People do get it. From my understanding, I'm a sweet child of mine doesn't usually happen all the time. It's just sweet child of mine. It goes
Hmm.
leads right into it from my recollection. Uh, and then Welcome to the Jungle. We've got no time to play. Um, I can't see how people can't hear or understand Axel at times. He's very eloquent in his lyric delivery. I don't see how he could be misheard or, you know, do
The
you?
n- no, not for Welcome to the Jungle or Sweet Child of Mine. The only I feel like there are some parts where he is singing very quickly in Paradise City that I think some of those lyrics can be misheard. So I feel like if there's one song that people might not know the full lyrics to, it would be that one. But
Hmm.
you know, but not Welcome to the Jungle. That's my opinion.
Huh. Yeah, yeah. It was one of those staple things that I just kind of threw in there, and I had to reread it. I'm like, wait, there's nothing in here that's wrong, honestly. But I'm sure there's a lot of people, but you get a lot of those people who drive next to you and are screaming at or singing their head off that really don't have vocal range.
Well, that would be me. I definitely felt them out, but I'm apologize to anyone who's ever had to hear me. I do try to keep my windows up or keep it to the shower or when I'm home alone, so no one has to, I know I can't carry a tune, but it doesn't stop me from belting it out.
My backup vocals were always so bad that I think birds fell from the sky.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm having a good time. And I never care like if someone is like if especially if it's something like Guns N' Roses, like I love it. If I see someone loving it as much as what I do, I don't care how terrible you're singing it. If you know the lyrics and you love it and have that passion for it like I do,
Mm.
that's totally cool. It doesn't bother me at all. If you butcher it, however, like the lyrics and don't know it, then that irritates me.
Yeah, that's like everybody. It's like everybody usually gets like Jimi Hendrix instead of excuse me while I kiss this guy is always the one. Everybody's like,
Yep.
hey, excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Yeah.
That's pretty blatant right there with some people.
Yeah.
But with this album, I can't see it happening. But with the album itself, like we said, it's a very legendary. It achieved a lot of accolades back in the day. They did get, I believe they got an MTV award for the music video. They did, the album did achieve gold, silver, and bronze. Bronze being the lowest. That's what you start off with, but
Hmm.
it's gone to platinum over the years.
18 times, I think.
Yes, 18 times platinum and for the Recording Industry Association of America. And it had shipped over 18 million copies in the United States alone. Now, who really buys CDs anymore? Everything is through your phone or whatnot, and or you listen to it on Pandora, Spotify, or anything like that. But I always say this: support your local band or your favorite artist because they do sell vinyl CDs at their venues and at their merch booth. That's how they make a lot of their money. They're not making much off of digital play, let's just say.
No,
And that's
no.
something a lot of my old teachers and producers and engineers I worked with were trying so hard because uh, they're still making royalties off their radio play because you still get 8.5 cents per play. And if it's in heavy rotation on that radio station every day of the week, they're making money from that radio station. But this goes across the nation.
Yeah.
So they're making their royalties still. And it's very shocking. So that, regular radio play is still needed, everybody.
Yeah.
For artists.
And I don't have the collection that I used to. Like I had all of my cassette tapes, from the 80s and early 90s before CDs came along, and I still have I still have my original copy of Appetite for Destruction that I bought on cassette. It's held together by a Band-Aid because I had dropped it once and it cracked and I was afraid it was going to fall apart. And of course, what happens? All the tape comes out. So it's held together by a Band-Aid. I still have it to this day. I'll probably be buried with it. But I've gotten rid of some of my physical media over the years, and I'm trying to get back to that. I think it's important to really try to, at least your favorites, and this goes
Mm-hmm.
for like movies too, movies, TV series, along with your music. If you have any favorites out there, I really encourage to go buy some physical copies
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that media.
Yeah. You could easily, you're talking to somebody who's a lot older, but I
Not
went
that
to
much older, Mark.
I went to comic book conventions. So obviously comics is still a rarity now, little comic book stores. Music stores have gone on the wayside if you think about it. The only places you
Yeah.
could really buy anything from would be like Walmart at this point.
And that's depressing, but
And yeah, and then we used to have dedicated music shops.
yeah.
Sam Goody, The Wiz, a whole bunch of them would have it, and that's what their is a brick and mortar store that you actually would go to that actually had CDs or
Yeah.
cassettes or vinyl. You can always go to a record convention and you could find rarities there too. You'd be paying a lot too because it's probably, oh, it's the first printing of this. And then you're like, $800 for that? Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, oddly enough, back in the day though, when this album did come out, I did buy the singles on vinyl. So little 45s, with the big hole in it. And
Oh,
yeah, I
nice.
have those. So I have Welcome to the Jungle. I got Sweet Child of Mine. I have a whole bunch of them. And it's so funny too, because the way that Sam Goody used to put the prices in on it, it would be
Hmm.
on the actual record. So if you ripped it off, you would rip some of the
Oh,
album artwork or whatever off on it. So I left it on there on some of them because I'm like, you guys really didn't know how to package this, did you? You just put a piece of film over it at least. And I still have those. I still have them. I have like a little 45 box that I keep all my
nice.
singles in. Um, and like I said, there are certain physical places that do special like they would have records there.
Hmm.
There's one in Fords, New Jersey called Vintage Vinyl. I think they recently closed down. There's Zigzag Records as well. They're also in the city, but you don't see like these record stores anymore.
I
Any like
I
Tower
miss it.
Records.
I miss it,
That used to be the
you know.
something to go to flip through the vinyl. And even
Yeah.
years after when CDs dominated and you didn't know anybody who was buying vinyl anymore, but now it came back as people were getting nostalgic about, I
Hmm.
would say, a good 8 years ago. That's when it started slowly coming back, and then there was a resurgence of 8-track of all things too. So
Yeah,
you
that
could go,
was bizarre when I was hearing 8-track was coming back.
yeah.
Uh, I don't own any, but I used to listen to a lot of music on 8-track at my grandparents' house. Uh,
I laughed when I had to set up an 8-track for somebody in a client's home, and she goes, "Oh, you don't know how to use that?" And I said, "Yeah, this is how you change the track."
this
She
is how
goes,
you do it.
"How old
Yeah,
are you?"
I remember. Yeah.
I remember how to do that. I had an 8-track adapter because the car had an 8-track player in it, but I had an 8-track adapter for cassette, so you could play a cassette in an 8-track player.
Wow.
So it was the weirdest thing. My father used to get really old clunkers back in the 80s and 90s, and we had this one car, and it had this. He had to have this adapter so he could actually play cassettes in it.
Wow. I've never seen that. Never seen those adapters.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. I was always fascinated by because it wasn't in a car, it was an 8-track player like you would have on a cabinet or something or a dresser.
Mhm.
And I was always fascinated by, being able to flip to the next track. That was just fascinating to me. I was like, how does this work? Like I wanted to understand that inner workings of how it knew to flip to that next track on that 8-track. So
It moved
that
the
was cool.
tape head to the next track, is what it does. And it's so hilarious too because it's you can hear it click click click
Hmm.
click and
Yep.
that, yeah, it's literally clicking over so that the tape head can move in the position because that's what they say, 8 tracks, so you have 8 tracks on it. So and just
That I
think
knew you'd
about,
know. I knew
yeah,
you would know.
yeah, think about it. It's like, think about it, if you had a double album, let's say they had 16 songs, you had to get two. It was like it was sold as a package for 2 8 tracks. It's hilarious. But that was in the 70s. By the 80s, cassettes started to take over from
Yeah.
that. But yeah, this album had a lot of great chart topping songs on it. And One of which was Welcome to the Jungle, and it was
Hmm.
released on September 21st, 1987, and it was released as the album's second single because Sweet Child of Mine, I believe, was the first. And initially in the UK in September 1987, then again in October 1988, and this time including the US. So we didn't get to hear it until 88 at times, but it was already in certain films. Like I said, there was that Clint Eastwood film, Dirty Harry movie, that Jim Carrey does his little miming for the music video.
Yeah.
If you recall, it was literally him trying to play Axl Rose in it.
Yeah. And he was like lip syncing Welcome to the Jungle. Yeah. I
Yeah,
watched that movie. I mean, I was always a Clint Eastwood fan anyway, but I watched that movie only because Guns N' Roses had a very, very small cameo appearance in like
that they did.
3 seconds and then blink and you'd miss it. But I watched it primarily just for that.
So, Sweet Child of Mine was released in 1988 in June, and released. It was well. It says topped the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 list, and it's still there. It's
Hmm.
still in there as the top 100 songs that are out there that are consecutively played. Uh, Paradise City was released in January of 1989, and the song peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, and that became the band's third single to reach the top 10. Um, and then Night Train, and that was released in 89. I don't remember really hearing that too much on the radio back in the day, but apparently it was released as the album's fifth and final single, reaching number 93 on the US Billboard Hot 100. So
Yeah. I
that
was probably
was
listening to it more on the album versus listening to it I don't recall it listening to it on radio
me
either. I
neither.
was,
That's why I'm like looking at these stats, but these are things that you find on Wikipedia and everything, everybody.
yep.
So here's the breakdown of the singles. It's so easy. Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, Night Train, and Mr. Brownstone, which was a UK exclusive apparently. So,
Interesting.
but yeah, that's all I had for Appetite. Unless you want to continue talking about the band, uh, we could talk about how the band had a little bit of a history where we already mentioned it, drugs and alcohol. A
Yeah.
lot of them went to rehab a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of them also kicked the monkey too. So Slash is married and has children,
Hmm.
and he's been sober for years now. Steven Adler uh, has had he's been in and out of rehab a lot of times over the years, but he made a comeback. And he had issues too because due to his addictions, he had a lot of physical issues going on for him to play drums at one point.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's why by Use Your Illusion, he was replaced. I
Yeah.
believe he was replaced by Matt Sorum, if I believe. And
Yes.
Matt for years has always been the GNR drummer everybody really recognizes and remembers for the last bunch of major tours. Then we had Guns N' Roses in different variations over the years too. Axel came out with literally a whole new band. There wasn't anybody original at one point, and that was for the Chinese Democracy. Everybody,
Yeah. There were some bizarre times.
yeah,
Bizarre
I
times.
I remember the Chinese Democracy that when it came out because my friend Ron Saul was a guitar player. That was the lead guitar player in the band.
Wow.
So he was there to replace Slash at that time, but that didn't get favored. That album did not get favored at all.
No.
But I did buy it. I got Ron to sign
Oh,
it.
heck yeah. Yeah.
He said the best part of that album is that he was able to go on tour and get you know get some guitars out of it, amps and stuff like that. He's no stranger to playing live stadium arenas and things of that nature. Ronthal, you all will know as Bumblefoot,
Hmm.
and he's a techie kind of guitar player. My friend Emmett Mahoney played in his Bumblefoot band and was able to tour all over in France and Europe. And the funny thing was is that Emmett and Ron had stopped talking to each other for a while. The band broke up. They stopped talking to each other. And through, I guess, the world of Facebook and social media, and me, I got them talking, and during the whole Chinese democracy tour and everything, Emmett, who works for Continental Airlines, was able to get himself tickets to go to France and then hang out with Ron and the band at that time, which was pretty cool. And I was glad that they were able to get there. But he was like 5 minutes away where I believe Axel got arrested for destruction of the cafe
Oops.
that morning, the morning after. But as you could tell, Axel has not changed over the years, except for gaining a little bit of weight.
Yeah. He, I do feel he's mellowed.
Oh, he
He's
definitely has.
like it was a very different scene. And, I'm not here to excuse any kind of behavior back in the day when they were chronically, or well, we'll just, say some members may be chronically late to shows and, causing ruckus. I'm not here to make excuses or, anything like that, but it was definitely a different time. I think there were a lot of different things going on in people's lives. And look, I did not get a chance to see Guns N' Roses in the late 80s and early 90s, especially like the Use Your Illusion tour that was just so massive. I come from a very small area. They were not playing like every place that if they got anywhere near me, it was like minimum around 3 hours away. And
Wow.
I was still, yeah, I'm in a very rural kind of setting, and it wasn't like, oh, I'll just go 30 minutes over to this town or even an hour. Also, I definitely was not driving yet. I was still pretty young, so it wasn't like I could just like hop in a car and go. I had to rely on someone to take me. So it definitely restricted me. However, when they came back for their Not in This Lifetime tour
Mhm.
in 2016, and I mean, one, it was just amazing. I think I might have passed out from the news that they were reuniting and then playing Coachella. And then right after Coachella, they did the two shows in Vegas, which then kicked off that tour. And I said, you know what? I am an adult now and I have adult money, and I can, if I want, I can go to Vegas. And not that this was cheap by any means. I'm not saying it was easy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm like, I don't care. I will figure it out. I will get those plane tickets. I'm getting tickets and I'm going, because at that time they didn't know that it was going to be a long, like, I think they were kind of feeling it out. Like, did
Mm.
people care? Do people still care about Guns N' Roses? Do people want to come see our shows?
Yeah.
So like the whole national and world tour hadn't been announced or anything. Like, it was like, is this it? Like, is Vegas it for this tour? So anyway, I made it happen. I got to Vegas, went to see them, and I saw them again later in Nashville. And that's, I think Steven showed up to the show in Nashville and played quite a bit. He wasn't there in Vegas yet,
Yeah.
but he did come to Nashville, and it was just like, I don't know, hard to explain, because I've been a fan of the show since Welcome to the Jungle graced my MTV screen when I came home from school one day. That was like my ritual. I'd come home from school. First thing was, if it wasn't already on, flipping on MTV. And then I would turn it up because I would listen to it from my room.
Mm.
Because I'd have to like go do my homework or go clean my room or something, before I was allowed to go do anything. So I'd be listening to that. And so, I mean, an OG fan, and it's been a big part of my life. And, you know, just something, I know that they all struggled and had their struggles, but what made Welcome to, or well, yeah, the song Welcome to the Jungle, but the whole album for Appetite for Destruction, it was so raw, and they were writing about the things that they saw, the things that they experienced, this darker side of, the LA scene and the things that they witnessed while, they're struggling musicians in LA, and it was real. And it's unfortunate that some of that crossed over into their lives and caused issues over the years. But man, did we get a hell of an album out of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I, oddly enough, have never seen Guns N' Roses live. Oddly enough,
Wow.
I never have, but I don't know. I could have in the '90s. There was that whole Metallica tour. They were
Yep.
doing and I had friends that went to go see them. They went to the shows, and that's where the no show moments happen. There was the issue in Canada where Axel didn't go on, and then they started flipping cars and torching and things like that. The riots that were going on at those shows.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's surprising if you ever hear of something like that because security's gotten so good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I meant to say this, and I kind of went on a whole different kind of tangent. So I apologize.
Yeah.
It's easy for me because I'm extremely passionate about the band, and still even after all these years, I haven't lost an ounce of that. But what I
Mhm.
meant to say was like, that some of that behavior in the day is not like it is today. Like as far as I've heard from the Not in the Lifetime tour was there was no tardiness for any shows. There,
Wow.
I'll say that. They're
That's
on
awesome.
time, things happened. There was no riots. It was all smooth sailing. That those days are like behind them. So
Yeah. Well, they're older. They're older men now.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
probably approaching their 60s.
I know. Yes.
So it's so funny. And plus, they can't drink like they used to. And, but they can still play. But
They
what I
can still
did
play.
admire with the reunion tour is that, you have Slash back, you had Duff back, Axel was with them. I don't know if Izzy was part of them,
Mm-mm.
but they could have had his replacement guitar player. I forget his name. He came in during the Use Your Illusion albums. Uh, Forgetting his name. And then obviously, like I said, Matt Sorm had replaced Steven Adler. So that way, yeah, you got sort of a reunion. It's like the core of the group was literally Duff, Slash, and Axel at that point, if you think about it. Those are the people that you do remember. A lot of people remember those particular uh, players in the band.
Yeah.
Izzy was the one off though that you would be like, yeah, I'm never gonna see him. And like you said, Steven was able to do a couple of shows and things like that before in the very
Hmm.
beginning. Yeah, I could have seen them in the '90s, but I didn't go to those concerts, those Metallica ones with where they played together, and those were supposedly the legendary tour.
I
The
bet it was. I mean, that would be amazing, I
yeah.
think, to see those two bands.
Yeah, the one thing that uh the one show that really sparked controversy on that one was when Axel showed up late and all this other stuff, decided not to go on. I can't, my throat's scratchy. And Jason Newsted makes this same story all the time in an interview. If you watch Behind the Music, he goes, well, if your voice is giving you a hard time, why are you smoking and drinking? He was sitting in the room, and then they decided, Metallica wound up playing pretty much almost like a double bill, but that was the night when James stood on a flash bomb on
Oh,
stage and burnt literally part
yes.
of the, like, I believe his right side of his face and hand, arm, and everything. So, and they
Hmm.
were in a different, I forget where were they in Canada? I forget where it was, but that's what started the riot and everything. And it's a testament of showing what not to do.
Yeah. So
It's,
happy he came out of that. That was so scary.
Oh, that yeah. Well, think about the skin grafts and everything else he had to go through.
Yeah.
But they
Glad
could
he's
have been
okay.
heroes and gone on and played while the band left. But Guns N' Roses had made history with their antics over the years, and we all know this.
Yep.
But yeah, they've had some. Appetite is by far my favorite album from GNR, even though it's the first. Uh, the spaghetti incident really didn't do that much for me. I think that was like a list of like B-side stuff that they did, and they that was notorious too because I'm not sure if it was that album or on Use Your Illusion 1 or 2 where they did a Charlie Manson song.
Yeah.
I forgot,
I think it
but
was in the Use Your Illusion. Yeah.
yeah. And I know in the spaghetti incident they actually did a Misfit song and of all things a Black Flag song. Um, and then you know they're known for all those, and then you got the Chinese Democracy as being a follow up. If you look at it, they don't really have that overall many albums in comparison to most bands that have been around for decades.
Yeah.
Their catalog is not huge by far in any means, but people still remember that band and will go see that band no matter if they do when they do come back.
I mean,
So
the shows in Vegas were sold out. So,
hmm.
and I think the tour was quite successful. It ran from April of 2016 into, I think, November of 2019.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
awesome. And then if you go to Vegas, obviously it is expensive.
Yeah, it was not an inexpensive trip by any means, but I was like, whatever I got to do, I'm
Once in a
going.
lifetime event, you got to treat
I'm
yourself.
like, look, it did not happen in the 80s or 90s for me. Like I said, it was like everything was working against me. And plus, like my mom was like, "You're not going to any of those shows. Look at the riots that are breaking out." And I'm like, but I don't care. I want to be there. I don't care what happens. I mean, obviously I want to see the band. I don't want to have the show not happening and then being in the middle of a riot. But I'm like, I don't care. If I get to see the band, then anything else that happens is worth it. Like, that's a sacrifice you make for rock and roll, damn it.
Very much, very much. It's kind of like when people talk about Woodstock 99 and how bad that was. I know people that went to both Woodstock, what was it, 96? Was it 96 or 95, 94? I forgot. The first one when they did it, and it became very much a success. And then in 99 was the bad one. I know people that went to both.
Right.
But all right, well, I think that about wraps up our thoughts about Guns N' Roses. You guys could let us know about your thoughts as well when this comes out and you're hearing it. But that will, yeah, I'll let you guys know how to get to that. That's cold feedback. And for you to give us feedback, all you have to do is go to our Facebook group, facebook.com/Pyrocore Entertainment. Uh, I did post the images so that way you guys send some sort of, comment in the image below. But it's been so long. We've been working on this for a while. But you could easily email us at pyrocoreentertainment@gmail.com as well. And you could write it out. We'll read it. You could also record yourself and send that in and we'll play it. It says if you're going to be on the podcast itself. Uh, but that's about it. That's the only two places you could really get in touch with us. But we have more stuff on the Pyrocore Entertainment library as well. We have uh, what's on tonight with Becky and Amanda or Mandy when they cover the pit. So check that out. That's part of this stream as well. Use this as a central hub to get everybody's podcast out. So you might stumble onto their episodes, but do listen to them. They're really good. If you guys like the ER style drama show that's on Max now, called The Pit. They cover that. And they just had an interview with one of the actors, and they're setting up for another interview in the coming months.
That
So,
is fantastic. The Pit is amazing. I'm absolutely obsessed. So good for them for getting that podcast together. I'm
yeah,
hearing it's really doing fantastic.
yeah, they're having fun with it. But you also do a podcast yourself on occasion or show
I
up on
do.
podcasts. So would you like to enlighten our listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us. Name of our podcast is called Strange Indeed. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus for some time. I've been taking some time off. Paik has been going full stream, so I'm really happy he has stayed in the game and stayed fresh. I have taken a bit of a hiatus as of late with Strange Indeed, but we'll be coming back in April. If you've listened to us before, then you'll know that we have covered the Netflix show called You. It is coming up on its final season in starting in April, so we're going to be covering that. Really looking forward to that. And then I recently wrapped up with my co-hosts Jason and Richard, Cobra Kai, which is also available. Like if you go to podcastica.com, you'll find all of those. So it's just easier to direct you there because
Mhm.
you'll find us and you'll find Cobra Kai Cast there, and a lot of other great podcasts by a lot of mine and Mark's mutual friends, and podcasts, and all the great things that they're doing over there. So you can check us out, or if you want to go to our back catalog and check out some, other things that we've covered in the past on Strange Indeed. We've, been at it for many years and covered multiple things. So yeah, you can check us out there. And I think we've got links to our socials there. I've not been active as of late, but if you need to find anything out about us, it's all there for you.
Yep. All you have to do is go to podcastica.com and hey, you'll stumble onto other podcasts that you'll like too. Trust me. But you'll be there
Yep.
for days listening to a lot of them because they put out a lot of content,
There's
everybody.
a lot of content. Yeah, for sure.
As always, you could hear me here on the Pirate Core Music Podcast, as always. But you could also hear me on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. Right now, we don't have anything out coming out, but we do plan on doing a review of the movie Rad that came out in 1986 that my friend Rob and I will be covering, something that we just loved. And he actually got it to see the movie with one of the main actor of the movie within the past year. It was pretty cool that they did a live
Nice.
screening. So Rob and I will be covering that on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. We'll be back with the Mayfair Witches season 2 wrap up with Becky, Lara, Billy, and myself. We won't bash you too much, we promise you. Anyhow, you can hear me there. You can also hear me on Panels to Pixels podcast. As always, we're currently covering the show that's on Disney Plus, which is Daredevil Born Again. I had to think about it because it's been a couple of days since I actually talked about it. But yeah, and then we'll be doing more stuff when the Thunderbolts come out. We're gonna be covering that as well. And then I'm working on a few other things too for panels as well. So that's where you could hear me as always. But for now, I just want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast. And thanks for Rima being on today.
Well, thank you for having me. You definitely made my day asking me to talk about one of my favorite bands and albums of all time. So thank you so much, Mark, for having me. It was great.
No problem. So I want to thank all you listeners for listening to this. This was Pirate Core Music Podcast, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side of the record. Bye bye.